Hi Beaders, it's me Mandy with Bead Woven Dreams, and welcome to your virtual class for the Double Herringbone Bezeled Bicone. It's a little different from my first bezeled bicone technique, which I just used a strip of flat herringbone, just 2 columns wide, to frame bicones. And so instead of just a strip of a flat herringbone, what I did was make sections of tubular herringbone. One side has one color, one side has another color, so it's 2 colors. Or you could do this all in one color, that's fine, but it's just a little wider than the first bezel bicone, and it looks similar. Sorry about that. It actually looks similar to the first one I did. But the process to make this is a little bit different, so I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put these 2 aside. Oh, that's much better. Put these 2 aside, and I'll bring my materials out. Alright, so basically, each bezeled bicone for this technique, you will need 1 yard of thread. It gives you a little extra, so 1 yard is good enough to make the bezel bicone and have enough to tie off at the end. So what I like to do as I do this, the most I work with is about 4 yards of thread, so I'll just tie off like 4 yards and make 4 with that one, pass with the one length of thread, so you don't have to cut off a yard. You can do as much as you like. If you are accustomed to working with up to 6 yards of thread, and you can do 6 at a time, it's left up to you. Okay, so I've got 1 yard of thread here, and I've got my needle. I do suggest that you work with a size 11 needle or smaller, but I'm working with a size 10. So you start off by picking up 4 beads. So this color right here, I'm going to call it my inside color, and this is my outside color. So I'll bring back a bezeled bicone real quick. I'll show you. So I have the inside color, the one that's closest to the bicone, which is my bronze, and I have the outside color, which is the nickel-plated matte denim blue. So that's the color that's going to be on the outside. So I start off by picking up 4 of my inside color. So whatever colors you work with, you're going to have one that's an inside color and one that's an outside color. Or you can use all the same color, but the steps are still the same. So I pick up 4 beads. And these are 11-0 seed beads. So I picked up 4 beads, and I'm going to bring it down to the end, the tail end, pretty close. I'm going to tie a knot. And I'm going to work in this tail end to the inside of the tube, in a sense. If you remember, if you've taken like did the tutorial for the first bezel bicone, there's a way I stitch in the tail end, so we're kind of going to do the same thing with this one too. Okay, so I've got the 4 here, I've tied a knot, and I've come down through these 2 beads right here. So I tied a knot and passed through 2 beads. I pick up 2 of my outside color. So my thread is coming down out of these 2. I'm going to stitch down through these 2 beads. Basically ladder stitch, picking up 2 beads at a time. And go up to the 2 beads of the outside color. And then pick up 2 more of the outside color. Stitch up. My thread is going up out of the beads, so I'll stitch up through these 2 beads of the outside color. And then down to the last 2 beads I picked up. Just ladder stitch. Very simple, very basic. Alright, so as you see, I have 4 rows of ladder stitch. 1, 2 of my inside color, 1, 2 of my outside color. Okay? what I like to do is turn it around a little bit, and I'm going to fold. And as I fold, I take my tail end right here and put it in between the beads, like so. And then as I fold, I'm going to also stitch down through the first two. Like so. Oops. And then come up through the last two beads right here. And basically I'm just stitching the ends together. Okay. So I've folded it, started my tubular herringbone, just so that you have 2 rows. I'm sorry. Tubular herringbone 4 count, so you'll have 1 column that's one color and 1 column that's the other color. Okay, so that's how it should look. And from here I'll continue adding my rows of herringbone, and I usually like to just do 1 color at a time. So I'll work on this side here, that's the blue, and then flip it over. And then work on the other side. That's the bronze. Keeping my tail end in the center of the tube. Okay? Like that. Right in the center. Also, as you notice, when I stitch this, I'm going 2 rows down. When I do my herringbone, I'm going 2 rows down. So I'll show you how that looks. My tension is not like super tight. I mean, it's good tension, but it's a little loose, and we want that. So it's flexible enough to fit around the bicones that we bezel. Alright, so I pick up 2 beads. I'm coming out of column A right here. I'm going to stitch down through column B. Instead of stitching just through 1 row, I'm going down 2 rows. So we're keeping kind of loose tension. It's not really tight. I mean, it's not super loose either. It's very flexible. And we're doing the double down. So we're going 2 rows down as we add our rows of herringbone. So it just gives a little extra structure, but because the tension is not really tight, it's still flexible. So you see, coming out of column A, going down through column B, 2 rows down. And as I step up, like so. And you see my tail end here is in the center of my tube. Alright, so right now I have 4 rows. It's 4 rows high. I'm going to add 5 more. So I want a total of 9. So I'm going to add, 5 more rows. So now I have 9 rows. Here's the first. Here's the 9th. And because we did the double down, you're going to notice that the last, like 1, 2, 3 rows are open and they're not attached to each other. Usually when you're just do 1 row down, you'll notice that just the top 2 are open, but you'll find that when you do double down, the top 3. So what we do after we add the 9th row is we don't add any more beads. We're coming up out of column A, we'll go down into column B. And don't worry, if your orientation is different from mine, it's fine. Herringbone is herringbone, tubular herringbone is tubular herringbone, it's okay. So you might actually start out of, this might be column A for you, so you might start and go in this direction. So again, if you're, starting this way, going that way, or this way and going that way, it doesn't matter, it's the same. Alright, so I went down 2 rows. I'm going to come up 2 rows here for the inside color, and then I go back down 2 rows, like so. Okay, there we go. So go back down 2 rows. And you see my thread is still in the center of the tube here. We can cut that off at the end, that's fine. Alright, so you can see that there's thread going between these columns right here, front and back, okay? So this closes off the top. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Come down 2 beads in one column. Stitch up through this column right here. And then come down 2. Like so. So now it's nice and secure. Okay? The top is secure. You don't have to do this, but sometimes I like to just reinforce that for another step that I'm about to do. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. So, as you reinforced, you just want to come down 1 row right here. Instead of coming down 2 rows, you just want to come down 1 row right here. And we're coming down 1 row of the inside color. So we're coming down any column that's the inside color. Okay? Bronze is the inside, blue is the outside. Alright, from here what you want to do is pick up 1 inside color, 1 bronze. Now this is, we're going to do ladder stitch to the top rows of our tubular herringbone, okay? So I pick up 1 bronze, 1 inside color. One blue, 1 outside color. We're just doing ladder stitch. Another blue, another outside color. And as we come up through this bead here, we pick up 1 bronze. This is the last bead we're going to pick up for this ladder stitch, strip of ladder stitch here, and it's going to be the inside color of bronze. And then we're going to come down through that bronze. Alright, come down through that inside color. So, coming from the top row of the inside color, we pick up 1 inside color, 1 outside color, 1 outside color, 1 inside color. And this is how this ladder stitch strip should look like. Bronze, blue, blue, bronze, or inside, outside, outside, inside, okay? So now we're going to fold, and we attached this strip of ladder stitch to column B. Coming out of the last bead here, we'll stitch up through column A. It's going to cause it to fold, you see, like that. And then I'm going to stitch back down through that last bead of the ladder stitch. Okay. I'm going to pull. And so you see now, we have what starts to look like this side right here. It's like mirrored, basically. So this is the base of our tubular herringbone. It's going to be inside color and outside color. So I'm going to bring back a bezeled bicone, and just for now, ignore the bicone in the center, and you'll notice that it's outside, inside, inside, outside, and that's what we have here. Outside color, inside, inside, outside. Same thing on the other side. Okay, so from here, what we do is just build up our tubular herringbone. So I pick up 2 beads. So I'm coming out of the column in the back, down to the column in the front. It's the inside color, and then we're going to work on the outside color. And like I said, your orientation, your thread orientation might be completely different from mine. You might be going in a different direction. That's okay. Like I said, tubular herringbone is tubular herringbone. As long as you have the color orientation correct. Outside, inside, inside, outside. As long as you have that, you're good. And remember, we're also doing a double down. So I'm not exiting 1 row, I'm exiting 2 rows. Going down 2 rows. I'm not pulling too hard, I'm not having like super tight tension. But you know me and my, most of my tutorials, the tension is like, yeah, it's pretty tight. I have pretty tight tension. But in this one, it doesn't have to be super tight. You don't want to be too loose either, but you don't want it to be too tight. So, if you're familiar with the first bezeled bicone, a lot of you said that you had to kind of practice it for only the first bezeled bicone, first 2, and then after that you got the hang of it. You might have to do the same thing with this one. When I was creating this, I actually had to make about 5 or 6 of them before I finally got the thread, the tension and the passes right. But now I got it right, so you don't have to go through all that. So I think the first 2, as practice, you should get it. But you might get it on the first one, who knows. Alright, so from here, I'm gonna do, let's see, so I think this is my 4th row, right? I'm working on right now. So I want to make sure that this side, that this tube of herringbone also has 9 rows. Hold on a second here. There we go. Okay. So I have 9 on this side. I want to have 9 on this side, so I gotta add 5 more. Okay, so I have my 9. I have my 9 rows and they match. So I've got 9 rows, tubular herringbone on this side, 9 rows of tubular herringbone on this side, color orientation, outside color, inside color, inside color, outside color, okay? Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and close off the top just like I did on the other side. Stitching down 2 rows. Cutting up 2 rows. Cutting down 2 rows again. And coming up 2 rows on this side. And then flip it over. Close the gap on the side here. Coming down 2 rows. Stitching up 2. Closing the gap. Going down 2 rows on this side. So they're nice and close, and then going up 2. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the inside colors. So from like row 9 to row 9, basically. So connecting the inside, oh, sorry about that. Connecting the inside color beads here at the top. So I'm coming out of this bead right here. Let's call this bead 1 on this side. Stitch down through bead 2 on this side here. Come back up through bead 1. Back down through bead 2. Come back up through bead 1. So this is why I suggest that a size 11 or even size 12 needle is perfect for this, because you see all the thread passes that we make. So I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. So come down bead 1, I'm gonna call this bead 2 here. Back down bead 1. Go back up bead 2. And come back down bead 1. Now, I was noticing here, I guess I didn't pull my thread tight enough. There is thread right here. It does, these beads look a little open, but it's just closed. So don't worry about that too much because we're going to do more steps to this bezeled bicone. We're not even done. We're at this, I guess you could say we're halfway through. So we're going to do more steps. So this little gap right here is going to be rectified. But it's still good to make sure you have the tops closed nice and tight. Okay. Alright, so coming down out of bead 1 right here, and you'll notice that you'll have 2 rows of tubular herringbone that are connected at row 1 and row 9. So they're basically separate in the center, and they're only connected through row 1 and row 9. So remember we did the ladder stitch right here? That was row 1, and then connecting it here at the top makes it row 9. So that's how that's connected, okay? So I'm gonna count these beads here. I'm gonna renumber them. This is gonna be bead 1, where my needle's coming out of right now, out of row 9. I'm gonna call this one bead 2. This is out of row 1. This is bead 3, opposite of bead 2 on row 1, and this is bead 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright? So from here, I pick up 1 bead of my inside color, the bronze. I pick up 1 of my bicones, 6mm bicone, and 1 bronze. Coming out of bead 1, seed bead, bicone, seed bead, stitch down to bead 2. Come up through bead 3, and then we're going to go through seed bead, bicone, seed bead, like so, and then we're going to stitch up through bead 4. I'm not pulling too tight yet, actually. It's still really very loose, and you see how the bicone sits on top of the herringbone. I'm going to pull the tubes open just a little bit, slightly, push that bicone through, and then pull the thread gently. We're not yanking our thread. We're maintaining really good tension, but we're not yanking it. And you see how the herringbone basically makes this diamond shape naturally to fit around the bicone. Flip it over and come down through bead 1 right here. Oh, there we go. And then we do the same thing. So we push the bicone through just a little bit further on the other side, right here. You pick up 1 seed bead, go down through the bicone, pick up another seed bead, and then go through bead 2. And then, you know, you get the gist, up to 3, the seed bead, bicone, seed bead, and then up through 4. My bicone, 6mm bicone, is now nice and secure within the bezel. Excuse me, sorry. Within the bezel here. So now what I'm going to do is add basically another row, top and bottom. So a row up here, a row down here, but it is reduced. So if you count the rows at the top, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 rows of herringbone. But the top row, the very last one, is just going to be 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So I'll show you. See? 1, 2, 3. So I'm sorry, the 3 columns. So that last row, you just have 3 columns of herringbone. So we're going to do a technique to reduce the number of columns in herringbone. It's a little bit tricky, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for. Alright, so after I've added the seed bead, the 2 seed beads on this side of the bicone, on the back side, I'm coming up through bead 4 right here. So I'm going to stitch down through this bead right here, outside color. I'm going to flip it over and come up through outside color on the other side. And this gap here is still bothering me, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch down and reinforce this because that is really bothering me. I think I'm going to go down another row. There we go. I have no idea why it wasn't tight before, but we will fix that right now. There we go. Okay. So when I start to add this reduced row of herringbone on the top, I'm going to be coming out of one of the, either side, but one of the columns of the outside color, okay? And I'm going to be counting from this way to this way. So I'm going to count, this is column 1, and then 2, 3, and 4, because I'm kind of working in this direction, but it's the same. Again, orientation is fine, but I just want to show you how to do this. So I'm coming out of column 1. There's column 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the front. 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the back. Okay? I pick up 2 of my outside color beads. 2 of them. I'm coming out of column 1 on the front. I'm going to stitch down through column 1 on the back, just down one row. Just down that one row. Okay, so up through column 1 on the front, pick up 2 of my outside color beads, down through column 1 on the back. I'm going to flip it over so I can show you what I'm doing. I'm going to come up through column 2 on the back, and then I'm going to stitch up through my 2 added beads. Go up, turn back over, come down. These are the 2 beads that I added. I'll sit on top, and then I'm going to come down through column 2. On the front, and I'm going to pull. Now, if you notice, before, these 2 beads sat nice and snug right on top of this outside column. By doing what we just did, now it sits in between column 1 and column 2. So basically, we go up through column 1 on the front, pick up 2 beads, down through column 1 on the back. Then we come up through column 2 on the back, up through the 2 beads, and down through column 2 on the front. And that helps these 2 added beads on the top to be centered between the 2 columns, all right? Now we're going to go up to column 3 on the front. I'm going to pick up 2 of my inside color beads, my bronze. Flip it over, stitch down through column 3 on the back, okay? And I want this to be centered between column 2 and column 3, so now I'm going to go up through column 2. And then up and down to the 2 beads on top that we just added. And then back down through column 2. So we first added the bronze beads, we added them atop column 3, and then we centered it to column 2. Okay, so now we're going to go back up column 3 again. Back up column 3. Pick up 2. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So up to column 2, pick up 2 of my outside color beads, down through, I'm sorry, this is 1, 2, 3, so up through column 3, pick up 2 outside color beads, down through column 3 on the back. So we've added these beads to sit on top of column 3. It's going to sit off a little funny. See how it's kind of sitting off at an angle? That's fine, don't worry. Come up through column 4, and down and up through these 2 beads, like so. And then down through column 4 on the front. So you see how, in a sense, really, we have reduced the rows of herringbone from 4 to 3, and it sits on top. So it's coming more to a point. If you wanted to, you can actually keep doing that process, adding 2 more rows here and then the last one if you wanted to. But I think just 1 extra row for this bracelet is enough. So now, again, I'm coming out of column 4 here, and what I'm going to do is stitch down all the way down through all of these beads. All of these beads here on this column, just swoop all the way down. And repeat the steps that I did on the other side. Picking up 2 of our outside color, coming up out of column 1 on the front, going down to column 1 on the back, and then, you know, same steps. So that way we can create this point, this pointed bezel bicone that has a reduced row of herringbone, top and bottom, okay? And when you're done, you do the half hitch knot. Just actually you can tie off however you like, but I will show you how to do the half hitch knot. So now with the 2 points, top and bottom, see it's complete. And again, I'm coming out of this column right here, column 4. So I'm just gonna stitch my needle, this is out of the 2nd row right here. So I'm going to go down 1 row into column 3 right here, like so, just down 1 row. And I'm going to take my needle and I'm just going to stitch behind the thread that is passed between row 3 and row 4. So right here, just stick my needle right here behind that thread. It's gonna be a little difficult, but just slowly wiggle your needle and see how it's coming through the beads over the bicone, like so. Okay, and then make a loop, stitch through that loop, and pull, making sure the thread falls between row 3 and 4. I'll do that again, just that way you can see it done. So taking my needle, stitching behind those beads and seeing how the needle is going behind the thread between the beads of row 3 and 4, like so. And then making a loop, stitching through that loop, making sure the loop falls between those beads, 3 and 4, and then pull, like so. And then we cut. Excuse my little terrible scissors here. I made a big mistake and I ruined my other normal scissors, but yeah. And then we can cut off the tail too. There we go. And then your bezel bicone is done. I like to make sure the knot is actually on the inside color when I did a 1/2 inch knot, making sure it's an inside color because we are going to stitch when I make the bracelet, I am going to stitch the rows together through the outside color. So with the knot falling, falling on the inside, you don't have to worry about your needle bumping into that knot. If I'm doing a bracelet or earrings or anything, a necklace, I just like to have that knot fall on the inside. So there you go. That is the double herringbone bezeled bicone. I know this is a little long, but there's a lot to cover and it's a little different from the first one. It's a lot different from the first one and how we make it. So there's a lot of steps to cover and it seems long, but once you get into the hang of it, it rips up very quickly. So I've got a whole bunch of them done right here. They're very pretty. I've got the colors alternating. And then let me see. Let me show you another one. Here's one I have in green and gold. Greens and gold. And I have one in all gold too. So like I said, if you want to do it in different colors or all the same color, you can. So here it is. And this is a 6mm round. Like we're doing bicones, you can also do it in a round. So 6mm round here too. So if you want to do it in all one color, you can do that as well. So there you go. This one looks a little tighter because instead of initial 9 rows of the tubular herringbone, I did 8 rows. So it's a little tighter. So there you have it. That's the bezel bicone technique. Hope you enjoyed this video. You got any questions or any concerns or need any help, feel free to contact me. Take care. Happy beading.